Hey, you guys, it's me, Amy Legister from Aspire with Amy and 3D Lash and Brow. And today I am here with an amazing guest. She is a celebrity brow artist. Here is the CEO and founder of Brows by Nikki Amini.
Thank you.
Welcome to
Thank,
my
thank
show.
you.
I
Thank
am
you for,
so honored to have you.
thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Y'all, not only is she a bomb brow artist, but she is like kind of almost like an inspirational speaker.
Thank you.
You've definitely inspired me, not just career wise, but also personal growth just in that one time meeting you. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited to have the opportunity to expose you to even more people, the
Yeah.
person behind the brows.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into this industry.
Um, so I've been in this industry for 17 years. It's been a long time, before brows was even exciting or even a thing.
Yes.
But basically, I just started out. I was walking through the mall, and there was a kiosk place that was opening up, and I stopped by. I didn't even know how to do brows at that point. I knew how to thread, but I didn't know how to do brows, and I filled out an application and didn't think too much, about it. Left. I was trying to get a job at Target at that point, which is crazy, but yeah, and I ended up going to Target. I believe it was like the next day, didn't get hired. They were like, they'll call me back. And as I'm walking out, the kiosk place called me and they were like, can I come in for an interview? And long story short, went in for an interview and I started the next day. I was there for about 5 years and then I started my own business. So I've been on my own for 12 years now. So that's been, how the brow journey started. And I just, I've been able to travel all around the world doing brows, being able to work with so many amazing people. So it's been great.
That is amazing.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the things you showed when you came to speak at the school, 3D Lash and Brow Academy, is you had a book
Yes,
and it was a pictures of everything you kind of wanted to accomplish.
yes, yes,
Can you talk about that and manifesting and kind of putting
yes.
things out there?
Yeah. So I'm really big about writing goals down. I always say a goal isn't a goal until it's written down. And I mentioned before the definition of future literally says the moment, it says the exact definition is actually time or period of time following the moment of speaking or writing as time regarded to still come, right? So it's like, what does that mean? It literally says the moment you write something down or you say it, that's your future. Um, and and I always say like you can never aim at a target you don't see. So it's almost like write your goals down, don't worry about how it's going to happen, just know that it's going to happen, and just work hard and work towards that goal. But yeah, I'm a firm believer of a goal is not a goal until you write it down. But the calendar that I did show you, all my goals that I've ever written down, they have come to fruition, so every single last one. So I just it's an exciting thing for me to write it down, and I know like I believe it wholeheartedly that it's gonna happen. It's like I always used to pray, and I have like things like this like on my book where I want to speak to other people, be on others podcasts and do interviews like that, and here we are.
Amen.
Yes,
Amen.
yes.
So a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we're, as you said, we're goal oriented. We're
Mm-hmm.
on to the next. Now that you've kind of seen all of your dreams come to pass, how does
Yes.
that make you feel when you're in that moment? Or are you like just okay?
At first, when I was a little younger, I was like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? But one of the biggest things that I learned to realize after, kind of going through life challenges with my mother's cancer and stuff like that, I was like, okay, now it's time to just slow down and smell the roses. It's almost like you achieve something, you're like, okay, what's next? What's next? And I always say, like, success is a moving target. It's like once you get there, it's like there's a new there. So you're always going to have new goals. You're always going to want to achieve different things, but you kind of got to slow down, show gratitude for where you're at, because at one point that's something that you always wanted to do, or that was a goal of yours, a dream of yours. So as I've gotten older, I've definitely um, have realized the power of gratitude. The power of just being still and being present with the moment and just, cherishing the moment for what it is.
Awesome. Awesome. So, what is something that, 17 years in the game,
Yes.
that you would have told yourself, that girl who was walk to Target to try to
Yes.
get her job, what would you have told yourself before starting this journey?
Trust the process. Yeah, trust the process and know that everything is aligning for your highest good, and everything is working out for you and not to you. I always say, like, most people are like, "Oh, this is happening to me," and whatever, and I'm like, "No, it's not happening to you. It's happening for you." Sometimes you don't understand why things are happening, and until you kind of like look back and you're like, "Okay, like this happened because of this or this happened because of that." So it's just really trusting the process, trusting the process that everything is happening for your highest good.
Mm. Speaking of trust
Yes.
in the process, one of the
Yes.
things Nikki spoke about was having the ability to forgive,
Oh,
and
yes.
how unforgiveness can kind of block your blessings. Can
Yes.
you speak a little bit about that and how you came onto that?
Yes. I was the person that I did not believe in forgiveness at all. I was really big on you knew what you were doing when you did it, until I ended up having a conversation with one of my mentors, and he told me, like, Nikki, you're not going to go to the next level of your life until you forgive. And I was like, that's a no go for me. So I was really big on, like, once I cut you out, I was like, I'm good. But once I really like sat with everything and I realized, like, the things that people do has nothing to do with me, and it has everything to do with them. And forgiveness is for me, it's not for them. And most of the time you don't realize how not forgiving people, it's actually doing a lot of things internally to you, and that's how we end up sick. So I was like, what I have coming, is it worth more than what I'm holding on to? And sometimes we hold on to so many things, and when we don't let it go, we don't have, room to get new things in our lives. So I realized that, forgiveness was a big thing. It did take me about 7 months for my first forgiveness call. I'm not gonna lie, it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was the best thing I ever done. I remember even at that point, I ended up getting my dream car the day after my forgiveness call.
Wow.
Which was a car that I had on my vision board for about 2 years. And it was crazy. That's like you make that call and then bam, the car that I wanted, I was able to get the next day. So that's when I really realized the power of forgiveness. And my mentor used to always tell me, like, you won't reach that next level until you let go of certain things. But I didn't understand until that day. And it's crazy because I never thought that I would ever even talk about forgiveness. But here we are. I'm actually working on a book about forgiveness. So
Are you
yes, ma'am.
really?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, speaking of books,
Yeah.
Browse by Nikki has published her own book. It is called The
Yes.
Business Guideline Step by Step. Can you
Yes.
talk about this book and what it
Yes.
represents?
Yes. So that book, I actually it's the volume one, and it's basically going through like step by step on the things that you need to focus on, whether it's like the branding, whether it's the colors, the fonts. When I started, I had no idea anything about branding. So I always wish that somebody would give me a structured book that had like step by step on the things that I would need to accomplish before.
Yeah.
I actually went through a trademark battle for a couple years that I had to spend a lot of money on to win the trademark battle. But so those are some of the things that I do talk about in there. The power of the trademark, your branding, your colors. I always say the we do everything in life for just one thing, and that one thing is a feeling. So I have to really sit, like, how do I want my clients to feel? Like, how do I want them to feel when they leave out of my chair? Like, how do I want them to feel when they walk in my salon? Like, what are the colors I want? Like, there's a psychology behind everything. So that book talks about all of that, and the step-by-step guidelines. So yeah.
And how can they get it?
It's on my website. It's on www.mybrowsebynikki.com, and they could purchase their copy in there.
All right. I love it. If
Yes,
y'all are
ma'am.
wanting to know how to brand your business, here it is.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I first heard about you about 12 years ago. And were you not even showing your face?
No.
You were just showing your brows, and
Yes.
you were able to build a huge business following. Because I'd
Yeah.
never seen your face until recently. Is that
Yeah.
something you were did intentionally,
You know,
or?
I was very intentional about that. I kind of went, my privacy was so important to me. I didn't want to have, I didn't really want to be public. Like, you know, I just wanted for people to come in for the brows and the transformation. It's been the last about a year and a half where I've put my face out there and, you know, just build a personable brand versus just a brand. So, yeah, that's
Yes.
definitely a recent thing.
Yeah, I'm like, I
Yes.
didn't know you were so young. I
Yeah.
was like, this is Brows by Nikki. She's beautiful.
Thank you, lovely.
You know, I heard about you because I was in LA just
Uh
visiting,
huh.
and then I knew that you were in Frisco. So you
Yeah.
originally started in Frisco, but you
Yeah.
built your brand big enough to where you could actually fly to California and say, "Hey,
Yes.
I'm here for the weekend," and
Yes.
people will just book you up. Can
Yes.
you talk about how you were able to do that without even showing your face, build a reputable brand?
Yes. You know, I always say, people people may forget what you did to them, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So one of the biggest things for me was to make people feel confident, to make people feel seen. And that was like my mission every single day, like throughout working with clients, because I was like, if I make them feel good, they're gonna want to talk about it. You know, that you know, the word of mouth was like so important to me. I thought it was like almost the best compliment, the best review, you know. So that's just how I started, and you know, one by one people just started referring me to other people. And then one day I was just kind of like sitting in there and I was like, what's next? Like, you know, I feel like I've done everything in Dallas. And I've had like almost everybody in my chair, but I was like, what's next? So I was just sitting there thinking and I was kind of meditating and I was like, I need to move, you know, which was like very bold. Cause at this point I'm like 23. And I'm like telling all my clients, you know, I just keep talking about it. I'm like, guys, I'm gonna move to Cali. Like, I'm gonna move to Cali, and they're like, okay, whatever. You're just talking, you know. But yeah, one day as I was meditating, I almost kind of like saw myself by the water, which was like crazy, you know. And then I was kind of thinking, I was like, should I move to LA or should I move to New York? And I was like, probably LA just because it's so big in the beauty industry. And then you know, I just decided and I just got up and left. Like I remember even the last day of me moving as I'm getting like packing up everything, my mom was like, "Wait, you're really moving?" I was like, "Yeah, you know." So yeah, I just kind of made that bold transition. I didn't know a single person in LA.
Wow.
Didn't know a single person, didn't know anybody. And I just got up and moved. And I remember I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was like, "Hey, I actually know somebody in LA. I'll you know link you up with them." And I was able to link up with a girlfriend of mine, Stephanie, there, and then it just kind of like you know that was my person I just started going out with, and then meeting a lot of people, and you know going from there. So it's great.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
A lot of artists today or new graduates, you know, I have
Yes.
students, they're
Yeah.
struggling to build their business,
Yeah.
but not only were you able to build one where you live, but in a
Yeah.
complete new place.
Yeah.
What tips would you give new people starting out in the industry on how to build a successful brand or
Yeah.
even to be able to have enough clients to pay the bills?
Yeah. You know, crazy thing was I always told myself like it has to work or it has to work. Like I didn't give myself a different option, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And at that point, like I didn't really worry about like bills. I was like it's just going to work itself out. I told myself I just got to put myself out there. And you know, success is a numbers game. That's all it is. It's just a numbers game. Most people think like, "Oh, let me just talk to 3 people and if they told me no, like I'm not going to be successful." I personally never took no for an answer. I was like, I'm always going to turn that no into a yes. It's just a matter of time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was never really worried about like bills, even though I had them. But I was just like, it's just going to work itself out. And I really just trusted in God and knew that, you know, if I put myself out there, it was going to work. So
Mm.
I know it's like most people are like, no, well, and I was like, just go for it. Don't be afraid of, this isn't going to happen or this. It's like, I always say, like, words are seeds. Whatever seed you plant, that's what's going to grow out. So if you say it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And if you say it's going to work, it's going to work.
Mm, mm. So you mentioned God. How
Yes.
has God or faith affected your business?
Oh my gosh. In a crazy way, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know where I would be or how I would even be sitting here if it wasn't for God. I'm such a believer. I'm really big on my spiritual work. That is like one of the biggest things that I focus on, like in the mornings as well. I don't start my day without, the praying, the meditation, sitting down, thanking my ancestors, like for where I'm at, thanking God, like that is, I don't touch my phone till 10 a.m. Like whatever
Wow.
that comes before that, I'm like, don't call me, call 911 if it's an emergency. But yeah, I'm really big on my morning routine, just spending that quality time. And, I always say you ask for so much, but, praying is asking, meditation is, receiving the answer. So I'm a firm believer of, my spiritual work and just spending that quality time with God and just like hearing, all the things that I'm asking for. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. You had mentioned at the event
Yes.
that you have your vision, your goals pretty much everywhere.
Yes.
Can you talk about that and like how kind of seeing your dreams helps it to come to pass?
Yes. You know, it's like when I sit in meditation, I almost like go into this deep, like meditation mode where I just start seeing things. And I always say, like, if you could see it, you could have it. That's why God gave you that vision. So, I just really like sit back, reflect on, is this really what I want, or is this what my ego wants?
Mm.
I'm really big on that now. Like, just really checking myself. Is this really what I want? And why is it that I want it? Like, do I want to just have it just to say I have it? Or, I'm actually using it to like impact lives or whatever it is. But I just write it down. I just, look at, like, if you come to my house, my goals are all over. Like, if someone was to visit, they know exactly where I'm going next.
Yeah, you said you even have it in your refrigerator.
Everywhere, even in my car, even in my car. Even now, like, with my car, I'm always like, I drive a yellow Lambo. It's just a matter of time it's going to show up. I don't worry about how, but I refer to my car even now to a yellow Lambo. So when I get it, just know I said it here first.
Amen, amen.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
so she'll have it.
Yes, yes.
One of the students asked you because you said you put your goals pretty much everywhere, so
Yes.
anybody can see it. They're like,
Yes.
should you tell people your goals?
Yes.
And you were like, yes,
Yes, absolutely.
absolutely.
Yes.
Can you share on
Yeah,
that?
I'm really big on that because sometimes people can't read your mind. People don't know what all your goals may be, but I think it's really important to put it out there because once you put it out there, it's almost like I'm like, let's just say I'm like, hey, I want to have a school, and you're like, oh, I never knew you wanted to have a school, but now that I share my goal with you, you're like, oh, I could actually help you with this, or I could do this, I could do that. But people just can't read your mind. So I think it's very important to share your goals with people, and just put it out there. And you never know who will come out the woodworks to help you out. So yeah, I'm really big on sharing goals. Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
You said
definitely.
it's not your responsibility to figure out the
Yeah.
how,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Could you
Yeah.
say that phrase?
Yeah, I always say there's your business, my business, and God's business. And when you worry about how, I feel like you're in God's business. And I always say get out of God's business and, trust that it's going to happen and know that it's going to happen. You just got to work hard. It's almost like success without work is dead. You got to work hard. You can't be lazy. You can't just sit around and say, hey, I'm manifesting and not do nothing about it. But yeah, I always say, don't worry about the how. Know that it's coming, but trust the process and know that God's putting all the right people in your life to make it happen. And one of the biggest things I feel like I've learned throughout my journey is sometimes that thing that you're praying about, you're not ready for it yet. and it's not happening because it's not going to, but you're just not ready at that moment. And you just need to trust the process and go through the journey, because sometimes I always say blessing at the wrong time is also a curse. It's almost like if I bless you with a car at the age of 5 versus at the age of 16, that blessing is actually a curse, because you're not prepared, you're not old enough, you don't even know how to drive, you don't know what to do on that road, So, um, getting your blessings at the right time is definitely an important thing. So, I've realized that sometimes if I'm not getting what I'm asking for, it's just not the right time yet. So it's
Mm,
just, trusting the journey and trusting the process has been a big thing. Learning patience has been a big thing for me. I could say that.
that's good. So, with your spirituality, and
Yeah.
you said you have a mentor.
Yeah.
Okay, how did you get into that? How did you? I mean, you're meditating till 10. Like, how did that come to be? Like, how did you know that this is something that you should incorporate into your life?
Yeah. I always say in entrepreneurship, your every day is very different. But for me, I love like structure, So I always say as an entrepreneur, your morning routine and your night routine is the only thing that remains the same, and it's almost like a clear headspace was so important for me, because it's almost like when you have a clear mindset, you can make clear decisions. That's why I dedicated like my morning and my night routines. Like I was like, it's solely for myself. If I'm good and I pour into myself, I'll be able to pour into somebody else. You can't pour into anybody else if you're trying to pour from an empty cup. So I had to fill my own gas tank up in the mornings before I did anything else, for anyone else. So, and throughout the journey, I wasn't really big on like morning routines at first, and when I first started, I was like, okay, my mind is cluttered. I'm not making clear decisions. I'm just kind of like, get up, roll out of bed, get ready, and then, I'm off to the shop. But I was like, this isn't gonna work for me, because I was almost like all over the place. I started to feel like I had anxiety, and I was like, yeah, I don't feel good about this. So, when I really came up with like a morning routine that really worked for me, it's been the best, because I'm able to like maneuver. I feel very calm in my spirit, so I'm able to make clear decisions. And I notice when I kind of maneuver, like where I'm like, okay, let me just have an off day today, I'm like, it does affect my day. It does affect my day.
So you talked about the power of having a mentor,
Yes.
because as you started, you didn't really have a beauty mentor.
No.
What how would that have helped you, and how do you want to use that to help others?
Oh my gosh. As I was mentioning, like there's so much power in mentorship. Like if I could go back and like find a beauty mentor that could have like helped me out, I would have been like, sign me up. Where can I sign up? I didn't really realize the power of mentorship till about 5 years ago, and I felt like the moment that I got a mentor, it was like everything just started moving so much faster. And I didn't make as many mistakes,
Mm,
because my mentor had already made the mistakes for me. All I had to do was just be a little teachable and coachable, and I was gonna get there. So yeah, but sometimes I do know that mentorship does cost, and it costs a lot. Like, especially if you're trying to hire someone good. Um, or if you're trying to hire a good coach. And I remember my first mentorship was actually $25,000,
wow.
which at that moment, like, I didn't have $25,000 just to throw out. I had so many, I had a lot of overhead, I had a lot of expenses. But I was like, you know what? Like, if I don't do this, I'll never know what's on the other side. I didn't know what I was really signing myself up for. I just knew that my mentor was one of the top mentors, and I always wanted to work with him. And I was like, okay, here's my opportunity. And it's like, God's giving you the opportunity. It's like whether you want to take it or you don't. And I decided to go for it. And at that moment, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna, pay for this, but I was like, it's gonna go on this credit card. And I was so glad that I did, because one of the biggest lessons I've learned was forgiveness. And that turned everything around for me. Like I felt like my life shifted like from all aspects. My conversations with my clients got a lot deeper. Um, I was able to really like give my clients, I was really big on like giving my clients experiences. And beauty isn't always just outer. I wanted to make sure that the inner beauty was good too. So after that, and after going through so much personal development work, I was able to really like pour back into my clients, and it shifted a lot of things for me. Um, I became my clients like real safe place,
Mhm.
and I was able to give advice where it was really impacting their lives in a positive way. And it was great just to see the transformation, like in myself and my clients and in their lives, and how everything was just like trickling down in a positive way. So it was the best thing I've ever done, and I always tell people like find the person that aligns with you and your morals and your values and your principles. And don't think about how it's going to work out, just know that it's going to work out. And look for one thing in a mentorship. Like don't look for 10 things. It's like go in there and say like what's one thing I can take away from this. And then um you know take the information, implement it right away. I would say success loves speed. So implementing the information that you get right away. And that also shows your mentors like how serious you are and you're not wasting their time. And when you show them that, they're willing to spend more and more time with you.
You kind of mentioned that sometimes you don't find the
Hmm.
mentor finds you.
Yes, yes, yes. I always say like you hire your coaches, but your mentors are definitely the ones that find you. And that comes from, if you're like for me, serving is a big thing for me. In any place I was in, I was like, how can I serve? Like, how can I pour back into you? Like, instead of saying like, what can you do for me? It's like, no, first question that went through my mind, like, how can I make your life easier? I always say your hand goes out before it comes back in. You got to give before you receive. So yeah, even in my mentor's life, like there was a lot of things that I did, for free, for serving with whatever. Like I didn't care if it was just holding a bag, like. But as long as I was making their life easy, where now they saw a value in me and they wanted to pour back. And then that's how I got connected with my mentor. So yes,
So,
yes,
uh, one of the things you mentioned, you have kind of a cute saying about, paying for a mentor. Like a
yes,
lot of people don't realize that you have to invest.
yes,
It's their time, it's
yes,
their experience
yes.
that you're benefiting from.
Yes, yes. I say you don't pay attention. And when you pay, you listen with a different set of ears. You know that your money is on the line, and you need to get something out of it. So you kind of pay attention differently. And um you're also paying for the experiences that the mentor has gone through, and you're almost like paying to not make those mistakes again. And I think that's worth every penny that you could ever pay for. But at the end you're always going to pay. You're either going to pay for a mentor or you're going to pay for the mistakes that you make. Either way you're going to pay. It's just how you want to pay. And for me, like I had paid thousands of dollars making mistakes, so I'm like, okay, if I could spend a little bit less, not making the mistakes, why not? Like, you got to go for it. So, but either way in life, you're going to pay. It's just how
Yes.
you decide to pay. Yes.
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 You hear that, y'all? She paid 25K for her
Yes.
mentor
Yes.
and mentorship, and probably even more for other
Oh, yeah,
other
yeah,
things you've
yeah. I mean,
invested in.
now it's like, it's like 10,000 here, 20 here, 30 here. I don't even think about it. It's just like, okay, where do I swipe my card? Because I know the power of it,
And you know it's gonna
and
come back.
um, there is, uh, there's so much power in being in the room, and being in the right rooms will change up everything. And sometimes the money that you pay also puts you in rooms where you could build relationships. Like, and I'm really big on relationships, as you already know. I always say your relationships will get you into doors that no amount of money will get you into. So, and I've been able to make so many moves and been able to work with so many different people just off of my relationships. But I had to make that first investment, you know what I mean? So it's like it pays off, as you look back, you're like, oh dang, I've been able to do so many great things by just, learning to be in the room. But and the thing about mentorship is too, it's not just about getting in the room, it's learning how to stay in the room. You know
Mm,
what I mean? There's so much power. Like it's like, okay, you get in the room one day, 2 days, but can you stay in the room? And that comes with, you know, making sure you do the work, making sure you work on yourself, doing the personal development work. And that way that, your morals, your values, and your integrity keeps you in the room and not just, you're not just getting in the room and getting out.
mm. You mentioned how difficult entrepreneurship has been,
Yes.
that Instagram makes it look like it's just all
Yes.
butterflies and rainbows,
Yes.
but there's a different side. Do
Yes.
you think that going through those struggles is what allows you to actually appreciate mentorship? Do you think if you didn't have those, you know,
Yeah, there were days where I was like, I'm over it. I don't want to do this anymore. I say entrepreneurship is not for the weak. Because it's not just a business aspect of it, it's the personal, it's what you're going through personally, what you may be struggling with family, all the little thoughts that come up, like, is this gonna happen, is this not? But so yeah, having a mentor by your side was like the biggest thing. Having my mentors, having my spiritual coaches, like, they're on speed dial. If I'm like going through it, I'm like, okay, like, who do I call? And those are the people that I rely on, like, and I think it's very important to have people you can really depend on, and people that could make sure you stay on the right track, and you're not staring off, because, we all have doubts, but I always say, even when you have doubts, doubt your doubts, but still having the right people where they're planting the right seeds in your ear is very, very important. As I mentioned at school, I don't know if you remember, but I always said, like, fear comes from your ear. That's
mm,
why the word ear is inside of fear. And it's like, when you do have those fears, it's like checking yourself and asking yourself, like, who's been in your ear, what have you been listening to, and all of that. So it's important. And that's why mentorship is so big, by having the right people in your ear, having the right people that pour into you, and giving you the right information as well. That's very, very important. So
okay.
yes.
So we've heard about your business and
Yes.
your spirituality.
Yes.
When do you get to let loose and have a little bit of fun?
I'm actually in that season now. I felt like I've been, I travel every single month, like, take about like 6 to 8 flights a month. So
Wow.
I'm always on the road. So I don't really get time to just hang out. But when I do, like, I do love to, hang out with my friends, and, do little small intimate setting uh gatherings and stuff like that. But I truly love, and now I'm really big on, like, spending, like, my Sundays with my friends. It's almost like that non-negotiable. Like, I'm really not big into football, but I'm like, hey, I'll just use the football days right now to, gather around, just hang out with my friends, and, do little fun stuff like that. But other than that, like, I'll go to yoga in the morning every day, and that's been really good for me to just, you know be still with myself and really just allow, a me time. But other than that, I'm learning to get out there and spend a little outings, with my friends and stuff like that.
Good, good.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Nikki, what
Mm.
is the funniest joke you know?
Ooh, the funniest joke I know. I gotta think on that. People always tell me I'm really funny, but it's almost like that spur of the moment.
Hmm.
I gotta think on that.
Okay, okay. What is the strangest food combination you enjoy?
Ooh. I'm foreign, so I feel like yogurt and rice, which is like so strange to Americans, but I do love it.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
I've never had that.
Yes.
What's the funniest story you tell people?
Uh-huh.
Your favorite funny story that you tell people?
Favorite funny story. I think that comes from actually when I was a little, I believe I was like 7 at this point. I was playing tag at school, and it was like we were outside on a stage, and I was running on a stage, and I actually fell off a stage,
Hmm.
and I actually almost lost my eyesight. It's not funny. It's funny now, but it's
Uh-huh.
not. But yeah, I hit the corner of a tree, and I was like gushing out blood, but
Oh my
my
God,
eyesight is
Nikki.
perfectly fine. But it was, it's funny now. It wasn't funny back then, but.
Praise God. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, go to karaoke song. I would say anything really Usher or Chris Brown.
Usher, Chris. Oh, so you're an R&B girl.
I'm an R&B girl.
Uh,
I'm a hands down R&B girl.
okay,
Yes.
okay,
I don't know what's going on with this new school music, but the 90s 2000s is definitely my favorite. Yes.
okay, okay. All right. And what's your weirdest childhood nickname?
Mm. Growing up, I was always called Littlefoot because I have small feet, but
Oh, that's
that.
cute. Littlefoot, Littlefoot.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
A couple of questions.
yes.
Threading or wax, and why?
Threading for sure. Threading for sure. And the reason why with threading, like there's no chemicals, you don't have to worry about any contamination. And if you are on any type of medication, retinol or anything, you can't wax. And that's why I always tell my students to learn how to thread, because when you thread, you can literally, thread any skin, no matter the type of medication that they're on or anything. There's no restriction. It's way cleaner, way more precise than waxing. And with waxing, once you put the wax down, you got to take it off. But with threading, if you're like, you put the thread on the skin and you're like, hey, I don't think this is going to work, you could pick your thread back up. So you have a lot more control with threading versus waxing. And you could cover a lot more clients with threading than you can with waxing. So threading is definitely my go to. Yes.
Okay. Shoes or handbags? Why?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Um, I'm gonna go with shoes. I'm gonna go with shoes. I love bags. Those are like my two weaknesses. But I'm definitely gonna go with shoes. I feel like I'm a shoeholic. I definitely am. I have like literally probably over like 600 pair of shoes.
Wow.
So, um, but I feel I used to be a really big sneakerhead. I would just buy every sneaker in the world, but um I just love shoes. I feel like they're statement pieces, and it just, it allows me to express however I'm feeling that day. So I'll definitely go for shoes. Yes.
Okay. Going out or staying home? Why?
Oh, staying home. I just love like my peace and quiet. You know, um, I don't drink, I don't smoke, so it's like when I could just stay at home and just be in my own zone, or, even like intimate small group settings, I would definitely pick that over going out. 100%. I love going out in nature, but going out, not so much,
Okay.
you know.
TV shows or movies?
Um, I would say TV shows. I'm not really a movie person. I'm not really even a TV person. I even mentioned that at school. I haven't watched TV in so long. I actually cut out TV for almost 2 years during my mentorship as well. Like I cut out music, I cut out TV. That was big, yeah. So yeah, I'm not really a TV person, but I would definitely I would definitely choose a TV show um, over movies. Yes.
And why? Why do you think that?
Why do I think
You
TV
would.
shows? I think it's the it's almost like that the not knowing, being curious about what's gonna happen next, having so many different seasons. My favorite show is actually Queen of the South. So I just love like that, that type of those type of movies or those type of TV shows. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. And last one. Are you a night or a morning person?
Oh, a night, like completely. I'm not a
Really?
morning person, at all. But as I've gotten older, I cherish my mornings a lot more. But I'm definitely a night owl. Like I feel like the best ideas come to me after midnight. It's like the craziest thing. That's why I always have my journal right next to me at nighttime. It's always on my nightstand. So it's like if I'm up and something comes to me, I just start jotting it down, you know. But yeah, definitely a night person. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Nikki, for coming on to
Of
Aspire with Amy.
course.
And how can people find you or book an appointment with you?
Yes,
Or
yes. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I
thank
appreciate
you.
this. Thank you again. You guys could find me on www.mybrowsbynikki.com, and all my social media handles is Browse by Nikki.
Okay.
Thank you again.